Hey guys, it's and Truth or Talk. Hope you're doing well today. I wanted to do a quick video to say that vaccines are bullshit. Vaccines are bullshit.
Vaccines are bullshit.
Oh, hello. Please, continue.
Okay, that's it. Good night. Don't forget to tip your waitresses. No, there's many reasons that statement is true. There's multiple reasons. I can't get into them all. But I wanted to do one quick reason for you, which is the polio argument.
So this is actually why I'm doing this video. I previously, in one of my Jelly Juice videos, mentioned the polio vaccine sanitation issue. Now she's going to illustrate what she believes is the reason why the polio vaccine is bullshit. But when I was doing my video last, I kind of just said, here, read this article, and mostly I had to do that for time. I had too many time constraints. So we're going to go ahead and address it right now.
Now, any of you out there who are anti-vaxxers like me and Verstine, you know that this is the go-to argument, right? So your dumbass pro-vax friends are going to sit there and tell you, well, what about polio? Do you want polio to come back and just start killing everybody and everybody? You want the return of iron lung?
I mean, do you want polio to come back? It's an honest question.
Like, you'll hear that from the doctor, right? I heard one pediatrician, brought out pictures to this guy. It was someone that we had interviewed on the show, I think, and he took his newborn son to the pediatrician, and he said he didn't want to vaccinate, and so they brought out pictures of the iron lung and said, do you want this to come back? Like, how selfish of you, like, blah, 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 blah.
Yes, if you are an anti-vaxxer, you are incredibly selfish. That's a pretty established one right there.
But anyway, so that's a complete and utter bullshit argument. For one, because the reason that there aren't any iron lungs anymore isn't because they aren't being used. It's because they're not made with iron anymore, and they're called ventilators.
Yes, our biomedical technology has improved. Part of that is vaccines, but other parts are things like ventilators. Good work.
And they're actually made with plastic.
She really does think that's clever.
So there's still a need for those. And the reason that people need those is not because of polio. All right. It's likely for other reasons. So anyone who makes that argument or makes that statement is completely hasn't done a modicum of research into the scientific data, the medical data, and the historical data on polio.
It's not actually meant to be an intellectual argument. It's an argument that's supposed to be saying, look, we already dealt with this. We found the best way to tackle polio, and so why would you want to regress back to a time where we were living in ignorance and not using the technology we have available? That's the whole point.
All right. So polio was not considered a disease that was necessarily associated with paralysis. So what are we concerned about?
Yes, polio was associated with paralysis. Are you kidding me? Untreated polio would lead to paralysis. And before we invented the iron lung, that meant death. That meant you couldn't breathe. So you died.
When it comes to getting polio, we're concerned because the official story is that polio causes paralysis. But is that the true story? And what the overwhelming data says is that no, it is not.
Really? That's interesting. I wonder if there is actually any citations that she has for this. Let's look. So I should probably point this out at this point. This is from a channel called Truther Talk. Truther Talk. And it's an interesting site. Who's more evil, Microsoft or Apple? Vaccines in the medical industry. You've got apparently a series called Blacker Than Thou. Not really sure what that's about. More anti-vax stuff. How mad scientists are creating a brave new world. This is weird. Well, hey, here we go. She does have some citations. Looks like they're YouTube videos from Suzanne Humphries. If you're not familiar with who Suzanne Humphries is, she is a rabid anti-vax lunatic. And she's involved in Vaxxed and bought the movie and pretty much anywhere anyone will actually talk to her and give her attention. But we also have apparently a link here from truthstreammedia.com. That sounds reputable. Okay, yeah. No, I God damn it.
So polio was not considered to be extraordinarily dangerous, and it generally cleared on its own.
No. Bullshit. That's bullshit. You are manufacturing, making up things that are just simply not true. We've known what polio does for, I believe, over 100 years now. We've understood the pathology of polio and how it functions. What are you talking about? Oh my God.
Something like 0.001%, there was an association of paralysis. Now, what happened was industry started making all of these pesticides, DDT and lead arsenic, started having these out, and in the areas where these pesticides were being released in agriculture, there started being these outbreaks of people having episodes of paralysis. And originally this was treated as if it was a toxicity issue, and those people were able to get better. But then when industry could no longer be covered for, and this started to become a problem, more and more of a problem as it was spreading around, the solution was a vaccine created by Jonas Salk, who then they said, oh, well, polio is now, so they started blaming the problem of paralysis on polio, even though that had never been the case before.
Okay, so in my line of work, I have to listen to a lot of weird, wild conspiracy theories. This is up there. This is pretty wild. So your claim right here in this video is that there was rampant paralysis by some pesticide companies and toxic waste and that sort of shit. And because they couldn't cover it up, because it was so hard to cover things up in an era where there was no internet. I mean, the idea that something like this could be organized and executed 80 years ago is mind-blowing. So they blame it all on polio so that nobody knows the truth. This is wackadoo. Holy shit.
Now, so what did they do? They redefined polio. Nothing changed. Polio didn't all of a sudden become a deadly disease overnight. What happened was the CDC, the people in charge, changed the definition of it. So there was a video that was done today that I saw today, I don't know, it was done a day or two ago, by a guy named Dr. Dale Brown, and he's a chiropractor.
I am absolutely not stunned that you liked a video from a chiropractor.
Now, he said that, what we're seeing now in these third world countries, we're seeing in places like India, where they're having massive, episodes of tons of people having paralysis, and they're saying that it's because polio is returning. Well, nothing's changed as far as whenever they bring a vaccine into the area, the only thing that changes is the definition of the disease. So in other words, once they start vaccinating for polio, then all of a sudden, it's not that people are getting less cases of paralysis, they're actually getting more.
It couldn't be because of rampant spread of misinformation and anti-vaxx propaganda that we know is happening in India. Nah, that's not it.
It's actually getting worse. Everywhere that they vaccinate against polio, the area has a huge increase of episodes of paralysis. This is because they're injecting them with pathogens and toxins.
Can you imagine being this woman? So absolutely afraid of everything, you have to continually manufacture things to get spooked by. And I noticed something else. This is pretty interesting. One of the videos on Truth or Talk is a re-upload, an interview or a talk, I guess, called Scientists Lie with Liam Scheff and April Bodden. And I guess April is one of the people who works here on Truth or Talk, because it's a group of women who make these videos. But Liam Scheff, he passed away just recently, but he was known as the conspiracy realist. And if you've never seen the videos made by Myles Power on Liam Scheff, I'm going to put a link in the description. They're amazing. That dude believed in everything.
Just like what happened here in the United States when this agriculture and these pesticides were introduced. So it wasn't that there wasn't necessarily a pathogen involved. It was just that it was the introduction. It took this introduction of these pesticides that the body was not readily expelling and able to get out. It was this toxicity So when the body is responding to a pathogen and is trying to send white blood cells, well, when you're injecting it or ingesting all of these toxins, then the white blood cells are going to be filled with toxicity.
That is not how white blood cells work. That is not how the body works. That's not how your immune system works. And you don't know what you're talking about.
So what's going to happen? There's going to be damage to the central nervous system, or there's going to be cranial nerve damage.
Cranial nerve damage. What do you think cranial nerve damage actually means? Do you English? Can you even medical terminology?
And that's going to cause paralysis. Okay? So the vaccine has time and time and again shown to make matters worse. All right? And so it's not that there is less polio. It's just that they're going to change the definition. They're going to stop diagnosing it because they introduced a vaccine. So to make it look like the vaccine's working when it doesn't.
All right, cue the Luke clip.
Every word of what you just said was wrong.
They're going to say, oh, those episodes of paralysis are caused by something else. They're not caused by polio because, of course, we introduced a vaccine. So therefore, the vaccine has eradicated polio in this area. And now, all those episodes of paralysis are going to be caused by something else. Now, this is even happening in the U.S. This is happening not just in third world countries, but when somebody comes into the ER or, to the doctor's office with a disease like pertussis or measles or anything like that, if they've already been vaccinated, they're routinely not testing for the diseases that they were vaccinated against.
Right. Why would they? Why would there be any need for them to? Their body is now equipped with the tools to be able to fight those things off. But for you to believe that, you would have to believe that vaccines actually work. And for that, you'd have to trust in science. And apparently you just like to make a bunch of shit up. Okay.
So that they can say, well, it can't be measles. It can't be pertussis. It can't be polio because they were vaccinated. Or the vaccine, so therefore, that I'm going to rule that out. So the doctors are ruling it out, rather than taking the test and actually proving that the vaccine doesn't work.
Got him. Got him. Got him.
Okay, so, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm just a mom. So you can trust me, all right? That's my disclaimer.
I'm a mommy vlogger on YouTube. That means you can trust me. No, I don't have any scientific or medical credentials. That's why I'm more trustworthy and more knowledgeable than scientists and doctors. Don't you know? Makes perfect fucking sense. Yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? I found some cheap cannon fodder with this channel. This is amazing. We're gonna touch on this one again. I promise. Whoo, boy! So I'm basically going to give you a rundown of how the vaccine and polio and the sanitation controversy thing really springs up. It's not necessarily attached to this video, but it is something that you're going to hear a lot if you start dealing with anti-vaxxers, and you might have already heard of it before. But here, I can illustrate this very, very simply. It's very common to come across a graph like this on an anti-vax website, where they basically start showing that the death rate of certain diseases all started going down at the same time, and that was because of the introduction of better sanitation methods. Now, absolutely, better sanitation is going to lead to a healthier society, but also, it wasn't just sanitation. Medicine in general was improving all around this time. But also, there's a huge problem with this, and it's actually right there in the chart. You see, this is death rate. Keep that in mind. Now, if you look at this chart, it paints a totally different picture, because in this chart, they're not talking about deaths, they're talking about cases of measles. And you can see very clearly, as soon as the vaccine was licensed and given to the population, it tanked. It absolutely tanked. Well, of course, as our medical technology was getting better, the cases of people dying was getting better. Just the introduction of the iron lung itself meant that polio is no longer necessarily a death sentence. So yeah, the death rate would go down. No shit. And this one is particularly insane. You see how it just slides down into practically nothingness, and the measles vaccine introduced 1963. Now the problem with that is in that gap, In that gap, you can see that measles was not nationally reportable in Canada, where this chart was taken from. And if you looked at the actual introduction of vaccines, it was way, way less than what it had been before. There is no smooth sliding line of measles instances like going away. It never has been. It's always been up and down. Most health charts are not going to be a nice smooth line. You see a smooth line like that for incidences, it's probably got a problem with it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. I have a very big project coming out, and it's going to be out in a few days. But in the meantime, I just wanted to do something fast, something quick, yeah, not too much editing, and just put it together because this is a gold mine. You should check out this channel. It's pretty wild. Anyway, from me to you, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Take care, everybody.